Hey y'all, welcome to Freedom Makers. I'm Amanda and today we are going to talk about endometriosis. I'm going to take y'all back about a decade. I was 19 when I was first diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis. A lot of women have reached out since my recent surgery. I am 3 months post-op today as of the recording of this video, and I have been asked to do a follow-up video on how things have changed since my hysterectomy, how I'm feeling, that kind of thing. And so a lot of women want to know, like, is this surgery worth it? Is it going to cure me? Is it going to help? And so we're going to talk about that today, a few things that I've noticed with my body and some changes that I've seen, positive and negative. So that's what this is going to be about today. If you don't want to hear about this, or you're freaked out about surgery or women's stuff or whatever, then maybe you should skip this video. I've got a lot of other great videos that you can watch instead. A lot of guys have asked about this too because they have loved ones, they have wives or sisters, people in their lives that are struggling with endometriosis as well and want to kind of hear a woman's opinion on that. So we're going to talk about surgery today. I had experienced problems since I was about 13 or 14. I was told that I was crazy. I went through that whole mess, and I was just being a baby, and all women go through this and that kind of thing. And I was like, no, none of my friends feel this way, and none of them are having these problems. And I finally found a doctor that was willing to explore those possibilities with me. And at 19, I had my first surgery. So they went in laparoscopically, they cleaned up things and told me I had stage 4. I had endo everywhere. I don't have those pictures, or I'd throw those on the screen, but it looked like fishnet, just like all over my organs. And so they got rid of all of that. There was some that was inoperable just because of where it was located. And because of that, I have had some issues with my legs. And I knew that I would continue to have a spread of endo, because the way it works is once you have, well, maybe I should back up and talk about what endometriosis is. It's when the lining of your uterus doesn't shed and be eliminated by the body during your monthly cycle. Instead, somehow it's on the outside of your uterus. And so once it gets out there, it spreads and it grows, and it can cover all kinds of things. They have even found it in women's brains before. So I'm not sure how that's possible. I don't understand all of that, but I know that it has happened. I have a friend that had it in her lung, or on her lung, and she had to have surgery up there to remove some of that. So I don't know how that's possible. Doctors aren't really sure how it gets on the outside of the uterus. There are a lot of different theories on how that happens. Some think that you're born with it. Other doctors think that there's some hole or fissure that it seeps out of. I mean, there are a lot of different theories. No one really knows how this happens, but it affects millions of women. I think it's 1 out of 10 women have endo. And endo takes a really long time to diagnose because exploratory surgery is the only way to identify it. It doesn't show up on a scan or anything, so you have to have surgery, which is what I did at 19, exploratory surgery, to find out if you have it. And so that was kind of the last step for me. I had gone through medically induced menopause at 16. I took different hormones, and they were trying to shut down my ovaries so that they could reset. They wanted, like, my body to just kind of reset and kill the endo. So if you keep your ovaries, you are pretty much choosing to keep your endo. Though you don't have a uterus, you're still going to have a cycle because those cells are still within your body. So they still respond to the monthly cycle that your ovaries are going through. So in my case, because of my age, I decided to keep my ovaries. I have already gone without them because I went through menopause at 16 and it was hellacious. And so I did not want to have them removed because I already knew what that would feel like. And I don't want to do that again until I'm in my 50s. So I decided to keep them as long as they were healthy. Through surgery, they decided that they were healthy. And so my ovaries are beautiful and they got to stay. So I do still have to deal with a monthly cycle, though it's not like most women because I had my uterus removed. I also picked up an infection in the hospital. It took 6 weeks to clear that up. It was hellacious. It was painful. It kind of added to the negative experience and recovery time and things. So not all women are going to experience that. You may go through it and never have an infection. They gave me an antibiotic before surgery, during surgery, after surgery, and I still picked up this infection. So it was very interesting trying to get rid of that. We tried a lot of different things. I was doing natural things and taking some antibiotics, and it took a while. So 6 weeks, I finally got rid of that. I immediately after surgery, of course, you're going to feel like crap. I mean, I'm just being so serious. You're going to feel like you're dead after surgery. In the hospital, it wasn't so bad, but once I got home, I felt like I couldn't move. I knew from my previous surgery that if I didn't get up and move around, I would feel worse. It took me about 6 months to get over my first surgery at 19. And I was thinking, okay, I'm older now. I'm more healthy, but I'm still older, and so I wasn't sure how I would react to that. I ended up doing great because after 6 weeks, I was pretty much able to do what I wanted to. At that point, I started like vacuuming again and lifting things. I did notice that a lot of my muscle mass decreased or diminished completely during that 6 weeks because you can't pick up anything. You don't want to pop open any stitches or anything, and especially internally. So you can't lift anything after surgery. You have to be very careful about that. And I, at 6 weeks, started just doing my normal everyday stuff that I had done previously until I built up some muscle mass. Then I started exercising some so that I could increase that again. I'm almost back to par where I was before surgery. But 12 weeks out, I feel like that's not bad. Up to that 6 week point, I also had very little energy. I wasn't sleeping very good. I wasn't able to eat the first 2 weeks. They ended up putting me on a medication to help me eat because I was so nauseous the first 2 weeks that I just about couldn't do it. I used a lot of ginger drops from doTERRA. That helped me get through a lot of that. But it was still pretty rocky. I've really just pushed myself to get better because that's kind of just who I am. I don't like to sit and be stationary, so I've pushed myself, and in some ways, I really pushed the envelope because some days I knew I came close to overdoing it. I didn't overdo it to the extent that I couldn't function the next day or was really sore the next day, but I always tend to push the envelope because I wanted to do more and I got tired of sitting down. So I would definitely recommend you just be patient with yourself, listen to your body. If you feel like you need to rest, then rest. If you can do more, do more. And you just really have to be in tune with yourself and know your body and know what your limitations are. And that will help tremendously as well in recovery time. As I mentioned earlier, I decided to keep my ovaries. Since I opted to do that, I did experience some kind of disappointing results with regard to PMS. So I still get my migraine every month. I still have the leg cramps that I had before. I still have the nausea that I had before. A lot of those things didn't clear up. They're not as bad as they were before surgery, but they didn't clear up completely. And I think I had some unrealistic expectations. I thought, okay, I'm having surgery. Everything's going to be better. Nah, girl. I still have all the symptoms of PMS, the mood swings and the headaches, nausea, leg cramps, all of that stuff that I mentioned. It's just not as severe, and I don't have to deal with actual menstruation. So there's no cramping in my tummy, in my abdomen. It's rare that I have any cramping there. On occasion I do, but I think that is mostly because I'm still healing. So on occasion I still feel some of that, but I'm only 12 weeks out, so I don't know that will be a long-term thing. I'm thinking that's just because I'm still healing. So I think that's completely normal. But if you are keeping your ovaries, just realize that, like, if you get a migraine on day 3 every month, or what, you know, whatever your symptoms tend to be, if you're a weeper, you're probably still going to have that emotional effect. So I still can tell when my cycle would have been, because I tend to be very in tune with my body, but I also have some very specific symptoms that I am still going to have to deal with because I kept my ovaries. That is not going to go away. I could have had those removed, but like I said, I was kind of a basket case. At 16, you shouldn't go through menopause. I did, but I mean, that was a bad idea anyway. But because of that, I knew what I would have to go through should I decide to do that. And I just wasn't going to put myself through that. Now, as far as surgery in general, it was definitely worth it, because to not have those cramps, to not have those debilitating days where you can't get off the couch for a week at a time, to be done with that is worth everything. I mean, if you have stage 4 endometriosis and you're watching this and you're wondering, like, should I do it? Yes, do it. Do it now, because you don't have no time to waste. It's the best decision I ever made. However, I still have to deal with things that I didn't expect. But those things are so small, they're dim in comparison to endometriosis and having to deal with that on a regular basis. And a lot of people have this misconception that you only have to deal with endometriosis on your period. It's not true. You have to deal with endo on a regular basis. Mine tends to flare when I eat certain foods. So gluten is something that I avoid. A lot of sugars in my diet tend to stimulate that as well, because you're causing inflammation. Anything that causes inflammation in the body, you need to avoid completely. And your body needs a break from that, because anytime you're causing inflammation, the cells that are still in there, if they missed anything, or those are still going to spread, especially when you still have your ovaries. So you can still have an endometriosis spread even once that's taken care of. You don't have to have, and I've heard so many women with endo that don't tend to understand this. Just because you have your uterus removed doesn't mean, and they get rid of the endo, doesn't mean you're not going to have endometriosis in the future. They think it's a cure, and it's not. The only way to kill endo is to remove your ovaries. If you kept them, girlfriend, you still got endo. And I don't know where that misconception comes from, but talk to your doctor and they will verify that what I'm saying is true. If you keep your ovaries, you're keeping endo. And I chose to do that for my own reasons, but you have to make that decision for yourself. And it can be a very difficult one. I went back and forth several times before I finally decided, okay, if they're healthy, let's keep them. And that, for me, I believe was the right decision. But for you, it may not be. I see people talk about endo and they don't really understand either what it is, how it affects their body, how it's going to affect their emotions or their mind. There's just a lot of things. And so if you have endo, or you have a loved one with endo, maybe your spouse has endo, just be aware of these things so that you can be a little more sympathetic. It is hell to go through to have stage 4 endometriosis, and to have to deal with that on a daily basis. You could eat something wrong and you have to deal with the repercussions for 4 days. It's not just about menstruation, like a lot of people think. And there's just so much that goes into this. There were days that my legs wouldn't work. The first 2 days of my cycle, I pretty much had to stay stationary and seated, because I knew my legs would just give out on me. My legs would just get really weak and they just wouldn't support my body. And so just walking, I could stumble or just fall completely. And so that's part of endo that has gotten a lot better. Since surgery, I've not noticed that but twice, I think. I think it's just been about 2 times that I've noticed that my legs just felt really heavy. And I knew it was because I had eaten something that triggered an inflammation response, and that was messing with me. So endo is very complicated. There's a lot to it. There are a lot of things that happen when you have endo that most people don't think about or don't know is a connection to endometriosis. The headaches that you get with endometriosis are ridiculous. I was diagnosed with chronic migraines at like 16 or 17. And they were treating that as a separate issue when really all along it was part of endometriosis. There are other things that are unrelated to menstruation or women's health that I experienced as a result of endometriosis, such as a poor liver. So my liver has been stressed out for years. It wasn't healthy. I knew that. I had had a lot of symptoms of just having a poor liver. I had liver spots in different parts of my body, just dark spots on the skin that I knew were because my liver was overloaded. It can cause fatigue. You can get yellow around your eyes. There are just a lot of things that mean either your liver or kidneys are stressed. And since surgery, like 3 days after surgery, all that went away. All of it. and I no longer have any liver spots at all, any of those dark patches at all. And I know that it was because the endometriosis was creating a lot of stress for my other internal organs. And then during surgery, they found that I had a large amount of endometriosis on my liver on the top. So it was doing a lot of damage to my liver, and I had symptoms of a poor liver, but I mean, there was nothing really I could do about it. I supported it in different ways. I drank different teas and used oils and things, but it wasn't enough. I had to get that removed. So if endo is on a major organ like that, you have to have it removed. So if for nothing else, do surgery just to make sure, because like I said, you have to have exploratory surgery to find out where it is. They can't identify it on a scan or anything. There's just no way to do that. And so in going in there, they found all this endo just netted over my liver and was able to remove that. I also have had acne right here, like below my lips, not really on my chin, but like right here, mostly on this side of my face. When you have acne in this place, specifically for women, it just means that you have a reproductive issue, and obviously I do. So since surgery, I've noticed that clear up a lot. Usually right here, I would keep just acne. I mean, it's terrible, but it's true. And so as a teenager and stuff, growing up, I always had a very clear complexion. I never had to deal with any of this stuff. So when I hit my mid-20s, I started dealing with a lot of that, and I'm like, really? I'm a little old for this. Like, usually if you're going to get acne, you get it in your teens. Well, it's because my hormones were crazy out of whack. My body didn't know if it was coming or going. I mean, it was crazy. And so I just kind of kept this patch of skin that wasn't healthy. And if you look at like Chinese facial mapping, you can see in Chinese medicine, they identify different problems with different things that happen to your face. So if you're breaking out here, it's reproductive health. If you break out in different places, they have it mapped out, so you can see, like, if your forehead breaks out, it means this or whatever. So that may be something beneficial to look at, but for me, it was just more confirmation that I needed to have this surgery. And once surgery was over and I started to heal, about 6 weeks out or so, I noticed that I didn't have anything happening here. I didn't have any breakouts down here. And so I was like, okay, that was stemming from that. So I'm just amazed at how our bodies work and how they fit together, and one problem can cause all these other problems. So once you attack the root cause of your health issues, you're going to feel so much better because everything else is going to fall into place. I no longer have to deal with the liver issue. My face is clearer. I have more energy because my body's not fighting itself constantly. Now, in closing, I want to give you guys a few things that I did naturally that really helped me as I was getting ready for surgery. I was kind of toward the end of that part of my journey, but I was in a lot of pain a lot of the time. And so if you're dealing with a lot of those symptoms from endometriosis, these are the things that I've done to help me. With the leg cramping, witch hazel helps so much. It comes in a spray now too. You can spray your legs with witch hazel, rub them down with the liquid, whatever, and it helps so much if your legs cramp. You can also put that over your abdomen for cramping. It helps a lot. I was also using Aroma Touch from doTERRA. It's an oil blend. They call it the massage blend. I would use that on my legs at night before I went to bed, and it really helped with the restlessness in my legs from the aching all day. They would be restless at night, and it helped tremendously. Now, I should also throw a disclaimer in here. I'm not a physician. I'll never pretend to be one. I'm not going to school to become one. I'm just telling you what has worked for me and what my experiences have been. So this is something that could help you. But for me, it's been a lot of trial and error. I've tried a lot of different things. This is just what's worked for me. As far as the headaches and migraines, I have learned that the way I eat directly affects that. So regardless of how well I eat and how clean I eat, I still have a migraine about once a month, and it's usually on day 1 or 2 of my cycle. And so that's just something I've come to terms with. But it's not nearly as bad if the house is quiet. If I can lay down and go to sleep for a while, it helps. And then I also like to rub peppermint and lavender on my temples and in my palms and just sniff that. It's also very helpful for women with endo to experience very little stress. Now, I know you're probably laughing at your screen right now because having endo is stressful in itself. But if you can reduce the amount of stress, you're going to reduce the amount of toxins that are released into your body, and that's going to help you to feel better. You're also going to have less inflammation if you have less stress, because inflammation can be heightened and increased when you have a very stressful life. So if you have a job you hate, if you have a stressful relationship that you're in, anything like that that is causing stress on a daily basis is not healthy for you. It's not healthy for anybody, but if you have endo specifically, it is going to make your life much worse and make you experience a lot more pain. So reducing stress in your life, taking time for yourself, taking good care of yourself is just paramount. On days that I did have a lot of extra inflammation, I was also using, and still do use, turmeric, pink pepper, and clary sage in a capsule. I buy veggie caps and make my own, and I put a drop of oil, of each of those 3 oils in it and ingest that, and that helps pretty quickly with the effects from inflammation. And so I had used that for a long time on days that were really difficult, and it helped me to get through. It doesn't kill endo, it doesn't cure you, but it can help with that immune response or and the inflammation response. So endometriosis is basically an autoimmune issue because your body is fighting itself. Your body is attacking itself and creating its own issue. So there's just so much to it, and Epsom salt baths are another thing that were helpful. I had a magnesium spray that I would squirt on the bottoms of my feet. Magnesium helps a lot with endometriosis. So that's another thing. You can also increase the amount of foods that you're eating with magnesium in it, like peas. Apple cider vinegar was my best friend. I would use that quite often in a tea. I mix honey and then apple cider vinegar and lemon juice or lemon oil in a mug with some warm water. You don't want it to be hot water because then you'll kill the mother in the ACV. But sipping on that throughout the day helps too. Sometimes I throw it in cold water with some honey. I really like that. And then your honey clumps up, and you, like, if it gets too bitter from the ACV, you just suck on some of the honey. And I used to do it through a straw, and it kind of balances out the flavor there. So that was helpful to decrease inflammation. Taking a lot of walks helps. If you are active, you're going to feel better. So I loved it when I was working because I was not hurting nearly as bad on days that I worked as days that I didn't. So being active, having an active lifestyle, staying in motion really, really helps. And even on days that you don't feel like it. So some days you will feel like crap. You will feel like you're dying. Get up and move around anyway. That's hard to hear and it's hard to do. But I'm telling you, girl, it is the best thing that you can do for your body is to get up and move around anyway. You need to be eating very well, but you need healthy fats in your diet, like avocados. You don't need fast food fat. So you may crave that. You may crave a hamburger and some greasy fries. I know I did. But what you really need is to go sit down and have a salad with some avocado on it. It will be just as satisfying once you actually do it. And it will help your body instead of harm your body. So choose healthy fats and just listen to your body. Take time for yourself. It's not easy, especially when you are trying to run a home and you have a job and you have children. It is very difficult to live a life with endo, but it's very important. It's paramount that you take care of yourself. Take time for yourself. Do the things that make you feel better. A lot of people will just tell you to take a bath and use a heating pad. I can't tell you how many times doctors told me that, when really I just needed to go in and have all of this junk removed because it was killing me. It was killing my liver. It was killing me. And it was creating a buildup of toxins, and I was slowly poisoning myself by keeping it. So, if you have endo, I highly recommend you have a hysterectomy. And at the very least, if you're not ready for that step, like I wasn't at 19, and I wouldn't have my Sunshine Girl if I did. So just prayerfully consider what you need to do. But definitely have the exploratory surgery if you are experiencing a lot of the symptoms that I'm mentioning in this video. If you know exactly where I'm coming from as far as how you're feeling, it's important that you figure out if that's what it is, because you may have a serious issue. You may have a life-giving organ in your body that's coded in it, like I had on my liver. And so there's no other way to find out. You have to do the exploratory surgery at the least. And then if they get in there and you are at a place where you're ready for a hysterectomy, let them do it. You're still going to have to deal with some issues, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's the best decision I've ever made. So I hope this helps you. I hope it wasn't too much information, TMI. I thank you if you have stuck it out through this whole video and watched it to the end. And I really hope that sharing this experience helps someone else. I know a lot of women struggle with this. And so this is kind of my endo story. I'm happy to share it with you if it helps you out. Let me know if you have experience with this, or have had to deal with this, or maybe you've found other remedies that have helped you to get through, so that you don't have to take ibuprofen like crazy. I was taking, like, when I first had surgery, I think I was taking 18 ibuprofens a day. And those were 500 milligrams each. I was taking 18, well, between 14 and 18 every day just to deal with the pain. And it was probably a big deal for my liver too. So there are a lot of reasons that I've had liver issues and have to be very careful with it and support it very specifically now. But if you're in that position and you're popping ibuprofen like crazy, try some of these natural remedies. They help so much, especially the oils have helped me probably the most. Having a clean diet helps incredibly. Losing weight, exercising, taking time for yourself, and being less stressed. So I hope this helps you. I will catch you guys in the next video. If you have any questions for me, let me know what those are, and I will answer those to the best of my ability. Like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I have had a lot of experience with this, and have really gone through the ringer, been misdiagnosed, like all kinds of different issues have come up because of endometriosis. And so I've had to deal with the medical field a lot, and had to deal with a lot of doctors that supported me and a lot that didn't. I've had a lot of jerks come into my life. I mean, doctors are not always nice and kind and understanding, and so sometimes they will talk to you like you're insane, and you just have to kind of be prepared for that if this is something you're dealing with. So now I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate you guys, and I hope this helps you, and I hope you have an awesome day. Bye guys.